How's it going, guys? Look at this awesome campsite we're in today. Ah, some of these places I find. So I am just outside of Cranbrook, BC. If you're wondering where exactly, it's kind of by a gun range. So should be able to find it from that, I guess. But I just thought, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get in here because BC has been getting dumped on with snow, thankfully. Gets me excited anyways. Whoa, almost fell there. So today I want to talk to you about something very important. I got to experience minus 25 already in the truck camper. And boy, do I have a lot to tell you about. Oh, I forgot my list. I have to go get it. Okay, I got it. That wasn't a smart idea. That's a little cold now. Oh, I got snow up my back. Why'd you guys let me do that? So first on my list, what temperature did I have it in? It was minus 25, the coldest night. Most of the nights though were about minus 15 to minus 20, and that was about 5 straight days. And then I left. If all you're watching this video for is if you can like stay in this truck camper in a Northern Lite in those temperatures or even colder, I can already tell you you can. I did in my old Northern Lite that was a 1998 9.6 Classic, and boy was she a classic. The insulation in that was nowhere near as good as this one. And I still had water running up until minus 30 in that one. So yeah, you definitely can. And I was inside that one at minus 48 without water on. So yeah, you can survive in them. At those temperatures, I would have a supplementary like electric heat or something, because the furnace will be running constantly. And you'll go through buttloads of propane. And if you don't have water on, there's not really a reason just to be running the furnace, because you don't need to get heat to the tanks. So, yeah. But let's more importantly talk about this camper and how it did at minus 25 with water on. So first of all, out of all the mods I did, which if you're wondering about the mods that I did, I'm going to have a link to that video at the end of this one. But generally, I basically just did the ducting in this, and that's about it for mods. There's not a lot more. I guess I added some ventilation under the bed, and maybe a little bit of insulation, but that's kind of a given when you do any sort of winter camping in any camper. Shoot, even most come with like hypervent under the beds in the first place, right? So all those systems, the ducting and everything, along with the extra insulation under the bed and inside the cabinets, well, the insulation under the bed worked well. The cabinets, that's another story. I'll get to that. But the ducting worked great. I was able to actually keep the tank areas at about plus 20. And where the dump valves are and the water pump is, that stayed at a constant about plus 15. It would go down a little bit to like plus 13 when the furnace would shut off. But when the furnace came back on, it went right back up. So yeah, all in all my systems worked well. Now let's talk about what didn't work. Number one that didn't work was inside the bedroom cupboards, mostly where my clothes were. And that was because of basically ventilation. I think if I would have put as much insulation as I wanted to in there, and that wouldn't even helped at all, because just no heat was getting in there. So of course the air going underneath the cab over, just getting that really cold and everything, and no air getting in those cabinets, it formed ice. So there was I did have to open up those cabinets and then actually wipe everything up and basically keep moving my clothes. I ended up actually taking my clothes out of there and then putting them somewhere else where they were off of the floor, because that seemed to, yeah. And for now, that is solving the problem. I'm not getting any condensation in there, but I can't use the storage because you'll get condensation under anything that blocks any airflow. So I think what I'm going to do to mitigate that is install some fans into those cabinets, and when it gets super cold out, just use those. Flip a switch, they turn on. Bob's your uncle. There we go. Just look at that thing. And its natural habitat in the nice forested woods of British Columbia. Now, that being said, do I think there's any truck camper that would be better for that? And I really don't think so. I think they all, at some extent, will get ice up in cabinets that just don't have airflow. That's kind of just the given with RVs. I'm really trying hard to think if anything else actually went wrong. During that time period, if you live in Calgary, you guys don't have any dump stations, like at all. Like, and not just ones open in the winter, like dump stations in general. The Flying J one's closed, and the only one I was able to find was at Chevron. And basically they said, if it ain't frozen, you can use it. And I was like, oh, I hope it's not frozen. So I went out there, and luckily it wasn't. Finding water though, super easy. I literally drove down the street, went to the first gas station there. It's minus 15 outside. And I look at her and I say, hey, would I be able to fill up my water at your guys' tap in the back? And she's like, how much do you need? And I was like, just 36 gallons. And she's like, okay, I'll go turn it on from inside here and then use it, and then just come back in and tell us and we'll shut it off. And I was like, thank you! That's awesome! So that was super nice. They didn't even charge me. So yeah, I guess I owe them a Tim's, eh? But yeah, that was really, really good to find and made life a little bit easier. You might be asking too, why was I in Calgary? I guess I should have explained that earlier. I was actually buying this camera, and basically I wanted to wait out until Fernie opened up because I knew opening day was coming. So I thought, hey, I'll just hang out here, edit some videos, get some stuff done, resupply, and everything was good. And I got a lot of stuff for this camera. It's actually on a gimbal right now. That's why it's so smooth. So definitely worth the time there. The dual pane windows worked awesome. They didn't fog up or ice up at all. The frames did get some moisture on them, but beggars can't be choosers, right? So basically all I did was in the morning, I'd wipe the frames and whatever, not a big deal. I did have the fan running too while I was in there. Maybe if I would have ran it more, but for the most part, my humidity stayed at like 30% the whole time I was in there. And that's usually where it stays at, so I'm not too concerned. The silence of a winter forest is something else. Like you can just hear the wind and the traffic from the highway that's really far away, but it's there. Okay, on to the next thing. How much propane did I use? I know a lot of you are wondering that. I went through the usual 2 tanks of propane in 4 days. That's just it. That being said, I did leave the water heater on the whole time, so it would just come on whenever it needed to. And I feel like that uses quite a bit of propane. More than the furnace, actually. I think the furnace, when the furnace is running, it sips it more, but the furnace runs more than the water heater. Yeah, yeah. I could have mitigated that, and after having started the water heater in the morning, and then noon, and then before bed or something, and that probably would have been okay. Or just run it through the night. Don't start it before bed. 8 hours, you might end up with an ice cube in there. But I just thought to myself, it's just easier just to leave it running. If I'm not driving anywhere, then whatever. And that worked out great. So I would do that again. Yes, you go through quite a bit of propane. And I think the only thing I would do different is, and this is probably a future mod, I was actually thinking about doing this before this winter, was upgrade the tanks to 30 pounds. But I need to make a new compartment to put them in. But I think I do have space in there that I could build a compartment and put two 30-pound tanks in there, which would be really awesome, because then I'd be able to like go 6 days without having to do that. The cheaper thing to do would just be to bring a third tank with you, but I don't really have space for that. Battery system, that was the usual. I was running, I didn't run Starlink or anything, so basically those 4 days I didn't really notice it go down that much. I think around the air fryer the one time, so I did end up charging through that, but that's not a big deal. There was no sun either. Like, we're in Canada right now, there is no sun. This is like, yeah, it's just cloudy, overcast all the time. That's just how it is now. I guess your other solution too would be you could go to a diesel heater, but honestly, that furnace in there is only 16,000 BTUs, and it pushes so much air and everything. I don't want to. I like it. And the other thing too, there's no maintenance to this furnace really. You're not cleaning it or anything like that. So I think I'm just going to stick with the propane. I know it costs a little bit more, but that's okay to me. It's less things to finick around with, and I'm pretty happy with it, so it works for me. Also, thinking to myself, like, having to mount another fuel tank for the diesel heater, because tapping into my tank wouldn't actually work because I removed the camper and then I don't have heat. So I'd much rather if I was going to do it, I'd do another tank on there, and that's just another fuel thing to fuel up every time, because you don't get rid of your propane tanks if you go to a diesel heater. The rest of the camper still runs off of propane, so I'd still be filling it up probably once a week because of that water heater or whatever else. That's my reasoning with that. And yeah, that being said, if you were to go with the diesel heater, you could totally make this work. Short ducting, get it to your dump valves and get it to your tanks, and then get it inside too, and you should be fine. So the next thing to talk about is, did the furnace keep up? And I'm going to first tell you about my last camper. My last camper, once it got to about -15, the furnace ran just about constantly, and that may have been because of the location of the thermostat, which was in the bed area, and it was on a very cold wall. So I always thought to myself, maybe that the cold was getting to that thermostat, but now I really don't think it was. I think it was just really hard to keep that camper warm, because it just wasn't as insulated as this thing. This thing's a tank. Now, that being said, I was in that camper at -40, and I still kept warm, even if I just ran the furnace. So I think it's safe to say that you don't need a crazy amounts of like insulation or anything just to do this. It's nice to have, but you definitely can do it with an older camper that has less insulation. It's just, you're going to need a lot more heat, and you're going to need you're going to need a lot more heat. So this camper, I can happily say, at -25, the furnace usually came on for about 15 minutes and would shut off for about 15, and then it would come back on in 15. So at -25, that's pretty normal cycling. It wasn't anything like it wasn't, you had it running constantly all night. So it wasn't like my old one where it would just start up and run, and then randomly it would finally shut off after like 2 hours or something, and then 15 minutes later start up again. Yeah, enough that I would actually get worried that the furnace was going to crap out or something, because it was, 20 years old and running constantly. So I don't know. It was pretty awesome that this one, it just runs enough and then shuts off. I guess I should mention too, the bed area. And I think this is a truck camper thing. it gets colder. Unless you actually have a duct going up there, it's gonna get colder. Well, even then, you have to think of it this way. Your truck box is basically skirting. It's skirting the camper. So that is going to help you in winter because you don't have that wind just constantly hitting it. If that makes sense. If you really sealed it up, I bet you that would actually really, really, really make it good. But the bed area is constantly having a breeze going underneath it because the cab is right underneath and wind just gets under there so easily. And that's probably also why I was having ice up issues in those cabinets, because they are directly on the floor. I did put insulation in those cabinets, but it still isn't enough. You just get ice forming on top of the insulation now. And no, there's none under it. I checked. Don't worry, it's not rotting underneath. We're good. Oh wow, it looks like there's a beautiful view through here. Like, honestly, guys, this area is gorgeous. I just love it. I was here in the summer too, and it's absolutely gorgeous as well. It's basically just a field, but yeah, it's an awesome place just to kind of park up, unwind, you know, get some stuff done. Yeah, it's not bad at all. Okay, back to what we're talking about. So yes, I would say the furnace keeps up in this. The bed area does get colder, and I do have a duct going up there, but it's just not pushing enough air. I think something I might try is putting an inline fan into that duct, because it just tees off of basically a big 4-inch duct, and I think that 4-inch duct just basically just dumps it all out at the end there and doesn't really send anything up there. So yeah, I do feel heat coming out of it, just not a lot. Okay guys, it's starting to get dark, and I'm starting to get a little cold. Not gonna lie. It's only -2 out here, but it's still cold. I can actually see the truck camper from here. Just a tiny little dot there, and it looks so cute in these trees. Seriously guys, I love this. This is like, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Okay, I'll stop singing, get back to the truck camper, and tell you if I really think you should actually buy a Northern Lite. But I'm pretty sure you already know that answer. Okay, can definitely feel that. Oh, I think I'm gonna lose a sock. Oh man, that's not good. Okay. Okay. Would I recommend you to go out and buy a Northern Lite truck camper for winter camping? Yes. If you are going out and doing like ski holidays or whatever, and you're just looking for a mobile chalet and you're only doing up to like weekends and stuff, any sort of truck camper really is going to work for you. The difference in something like a Northern Lite, Arctic Fox, Bigfoot, those ones you're going to be able to go out and do this, and you're going to be able to run water. Also, those ones are going to be great for full-time living, like I'm doing right now. That being said, literally lots of people do this in truck campers that are not 4 seasons, and are fine. Most aren't running water. There's an obvious reason why they're not running water, and that's because they don't have the insulation that something like this does have. I guess that's why I paid the extra pretty penny for this. I actually got this on a steal of a deal. I'm still, at the time I didn't think it was that great of a deal, but now after living in it for 6 months, I can definitely say that I feel like it was a great deal. After being in minus 20 with it, I feel like it was a great deal. Like honestly, there's better truck campers out. The composite, like a total composite truck camper build type thing, anything like that where it's like basically just 2 inches of really good high density foam, and there's no thermal transfer of any sort. Those are going to be like really good in the winter and everything. But you don't see a lot of them around, and there's a reason why. And that's because they cost a lot. Not to mention you usually have to build them out yourself on the inside, which can be fine. That can be fun, right? From out of the factory and just getting out and being able to go out and do it. Do that thing you love, winter camping, going to a ski hill, parking on the ski hill, and being able just to have your own little chalet. And it doesn't matter if it's going to be minus 30 that night, because you know that this thing is going to keep you warm. That's what I love about this thing. I'm super happy. I feel super fortunate. This is going to sound weird because I'm saying I feel super happy and super fortunate that I got to experience minus 25 now rather than later in the season. And I'm super happy that this thing held up better than my expectations. Like, it blew them away. So if you're looking for a Four Seasons camper and you're wondering if it'll even be worth it, I can tell you right now, the Northern Lite's definitely worth it. And from what I've heard from other people, the Bigfoot's just as good too. I don't really have much experience with Arctic Fox. I'm pretty positive they would do really good too. If you ever watched Taylor Desmond's old videos, he has a lot of information on Arctic foxes, because, well, he lived in one on Vancouver Island. I mean, not real winter, but it's okay, guys. I get you guys deal with a lot more moisture than the rest of us, though. I do think an Arctic fox would be great in this too. I can't see, you can't put Arctic in the name of your camper and then it not be able to handle really cold temperatures. So, yeah. I would say though, if you are looking at older Northern Lites, do go into it thinking that you may have to add ducting. And I can say these Atwood furnaces, these old ones, they're very reliable. Like, I've had 2 of them now. This is my second one. That made it sound not reliable. Okay, let me rephrase that. My last camper had the exact same furnace in it, and the only thing I did to that furnace was I changed the blower motor in it because the bearings got really squeaky. This one, nothing. I haven't done anything to it. I haven't even removed it. I basically added ducts to it, and that was it. Got all my ducks in a row and on my way. Anyways, guys, whatever truck camper you choose, I hope you get out here and you get to experience the wonders of British Columbia and Alberta winters, and wherever your winter is, like, just get out there and enjoy it. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to take you with me on the next one. Later.